Hey, how's everyone doing? I just wanted to go through a few things here with all the impending bills that might be hitting the floor, or House files, or what have you, or things that representatives that we might have in our local districts that want to change about guns and gun rights in general. Well, first off, I don't think any of it's a really good idea, to be quite honest with you. It's statistically proven that the bad things that have happened with firearms and relating to firearms have gone down. Now, why are they being reported more oftenly? I'll allow you guys to speculate about that. But the fact of the matter is that it's been talked about a lot more often, and I think it's time that we really need to stop being so relaxed in our day-to-day lives and start being a little bit more, let's say, involved in the process. I know that civics isn't even being taught in schools anymore, and even less people are really care about even getting into political things at this point. And I'm not saying you guys have to do anything, but what I am proposing is maybe what I do, because I'm not going to ask you guys to do things that I don't do myself. So, if you don't know your representatives, there's a few things you can do. You can go to whoismyrepresentative.com and you can find your representative. And you can figure out who's representing you in your district. So you can get their name, you can figure out where they might stand on certain issues by going to congress.gov, and you can find certain House files or bills and where these particular representatives stand on these things if you go there. So it literally takes 10 minutes of your time, maybe after dinner, maybe before you go to work if you're an early riser, maybe after the gym when you're resting your muscles or whatever, or in between chapters in the good book that you've been reading. However, wherever, maybe after you put your child to bed if you have kids, or any one of those things. But I think it's more important for us to get a little more involved. Another thing you can do is what I also do is on your lunch hour, and I happen to know my representatives that I need to call and talk to in my district, to oppose things like, say, red flag laws. I don't necessarily agree with those because it completely bypasses due process. And that's a real important thing. That's something that really does make this country different than other countries. I'm not putting down any other countries. I'm just saying it's something that makes this country very different and gives us more freedom. That way, a group of people that don't happen to think the way you do can't just steamroll you into something and accuse you of something that you're not guilty of. So, I think that's very important. So I don't think red flag laws are necessarily a force for good. I feel that it's more of a slippery slope issue. And that will move us on to another thing, the mental illness thing. And I also think that kind of follows a slippery slope, if you will. Because what is mental illness and what is considered mental illness? We all know that the extremely large book of different medical conditions is getting bigger every year. Every time it comes out, it gets bigger. And it includes more things. Say, for instance, like alcoholism being a disease. No, I'm not here to argue that one way or the other. Although I do know where I stand on how I feel about that, being called a disease. There's other things, too. So by having a mental illness law, not being able to have firearms or having your firearms taken away from you because of a mental illness, could that someday, 5 years down the road, include someone with, let's say, dyslexia? Or maybe someone who went through a traumatic experience, maybe at a younger age, and was once prescribed a pill or some sort of prescription to, maybe take away anxiety. Maybe even an antidepressant pill. Only once they were prescribed it, but that is in your medical history. There's also the question of violating HIPAA regulations, which basically, if a medical practitioner or doctor, if you will, diagnoses you with something that's between you and your doctor. And HIPAA states that you don't share that. It's kind of like when you talk to a lawyer. So if they take that away, I mean, what are we really, what are we really becoming? Because we're not becoming a more free society. We're becoming a more restricted society. But anyhow, if you would, or, if you feel like it, because like I said, I'm not going to make you do anything I don't do, but during my lunch hour, I call my representatives. And if you don't know your representatives, you can call your representative switchboard, which is 202-224-3121. And then you can say, I want to talk to X representative after you find out who your representatives are at whoismyrepresentative.com. And you can ask to talk to them, and the switchboard will direct you to their office. Now, most likely, you're not going to be able to talk to your representative directly because they're busy, or they are actually busy, but you're going to talk to someone who works with them, one of their helpers, whatever you want to call them. And you'll just, state your name. Sometimes they'll ask you to state your district. This is all information everyone knows anyhow. And you can just say, you oppose or, are a proponent or opponent of X, Y, or Z, depending on whether you agree with it or not. But I think that it's more important now than in times past. And I think it's always important to be quite honest with you guys. And I'm not saying you have to do this, but I would strongly encourage that we all, as a community, get more involved. Now, everybody has different reasons of getting involved. Some people don't trust certain aspects of government, and that's not for me to decide for any one of you. But I'll tell you what I do it for. I do it for my child. I do it for my future and future generations. I do it for my friends who are too lazy to do it for themselves. I do it for the person that I bring to the range, try to expose them more to something that they've asked to be more exposed to. I do it for all the people who have always thought about doing something about it but haven't. Anyhow, thanks for everything, guys. Remember, loose is fast, brakes only slow you down, and shotguns have a wider spread. Be safe and have fun on the range.